skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera. I'm switching.
That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome. You're listening to Perfectly Healthy and Toned Radio with your host, Darren Fatman McDuffie. And now, prepare to get fat. What's cracking, peeps, and welcome back to another episode of Perfectly Healthy and Toned Radio. I'm your host, Darren Fatman McDuffie, and as always, this episode is being brought to you by I'mTheFatMan.com. Tonight, we're going to have a really good show. I think this is going to be what I would call a classic. We have Dr. Scott Whitaker on. He'll be talking about his book, MediSin. We're learning a lot about the undercurrents of the medical establishment and what's actually going on. And I started finding out about this right after I got out of the pharma industry and my mom passed away from breast cancer in 2005. That's when I began uncovering a lot of things and finding out different types of connections, and we'll talk about that in just a few here. But before I bring Dr. Whitaker on, just wanted to get some announcements out of the way. If you are out there and you're listening, please connect with me on all social media outlets. I am on Facebook at facebook.com/perfectly healthy and toned radio. Also located on Twitter under @_man. Don't forget the underscore or you won't be able to find me. I couldn't get the Fat Man. Someone else had that. And then Pinterest is I'm the Fat Man 1, just like my blog, I'm the Fat Man, but the number 1 for those out there who are using Pinterest and YouTube. Also, my YouTube channel, I'm shooting a lot more videos. A lot more of my stuff is going into helping people be happy because I believe that there's a mind-body connection out there, and a lot of people aren't happy, and that's the reason why we are having a ton of illness, a lot of media stuff going on, and people need to really pay attention and kind of guard their minds and what actually goes into their minds and the thoughts that they're thinking. So I've been shooting a lot of videos with myself out in nature just discussing that aspect because that's something that I came into maybe about 2 years ago and something I'm really, really adamant about when it comes to the mind-body connection. If you are listening to this show tonight or listening to it on iTunes in the future, I will remind you to go back to a previous show that I just did Monday with Dr. Judine Benoit. For me, I've had the gamut of everything health and read a lot of books, and for some reason I never came across the idea that you can heal your cavities naturally, and I was really impressed with Dr. Judine Benoit because she doesn't do any drill and fill tactics. She's actually a dentist in Canada who works with patients without any amalgams, any fillings. She actually helps the patients to remineralize their teeth so they don't have to fill their cavities. So it's, very enlightening show for me, and also the aspect of when you're going into the dentist and you actually have fillings, or you actually have cavities rather, and the doctor tells you that you have a cavity. Normally what I would do was just set another appointment and go back in there and have them drill on my teeth and then get it filled. But under my understanding from her was that you have 2 types of cavities. You'll go back and listen to that show. You have what you call active cavities and arrested cavities, something you really need to know about because, again, once you are diagnosed with a cavity, you can actually take your time and work on remineralizing the tooth and actually never have to get it filled. And I know my mom was a single mom, and I know I caused her a lot of havoc when going to the dentist when I was a kid because I always had something to fill because of my love for candy and everything else sweet out there. So again, I would encourage you to go back and listen to that show. So let's get to tonight's show, MediSin with Dr. Scott Whitaker. I'm going to read his bio, and then we'll get him on. Dr. Scott Whitaker is a board-certified naturopathic doctor with over 20 years of experience in herbology, iridology, homeopathy, natural healing, and detoxification. A Southern California native, Scott grew up in the infamous South Central area of Los Angeles. With strong parental guidance as his anchor, he escaped the call of the streets and received his undergraduate degree from the University of California, Berkeley, in civil engineering. During his time at Berkeley, he became interested in holistic medicine and drew a connection between holistic living and long-term health. Of particular interest to him was the effectiveness or lack thereof of prescription drugs on common health problems plaguing the African-American community. Especially alarming was the number of friends and family members he watched suffer and eventually die from the effects of these prescription medications. Dr. Scott Whitaker, welcome to Perfectly Healthy and Tone Radio. You there, Dr. Whitaker?
I'm here.
Oh, welcome to Perfect Health and Tone Radio. How are you tonight?
Outstanding. Thank you for having me. It's an honor and a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for being on. Like I told you before we came on, I ran across your book or came across the book about 2 years ago, and just so happens through a mutual friend, I was able to connect with you and get you on because I was never able to find any contact information, but I'm so glad to have you on. And my first question is actually probably one of my what I would call my obligatory questions. And reading your bio, I just wanted to know, how does someone go from civil engineering into holistic health? And most of the time for me, I know that my journey into this was because my mom passed away from breast cancer back in 2005, but I'm very interested in hearing how you came about getting into holistic health.
Yes, and my condolences to you for your mother.
Thank you.
That's devastating, and not knowing the protocol that she went through. But if I make an assumption and say she used the traditional methods of chemo and radiation, then we know who to put the blame on. And cancer is usually the scapegoat, but actually chemo and radiation is what kills people. But my dad, since I was 4 or 5 years old, used to always send me to school he used to load me up with vitamins, herbs, minerals every morning. And I'm just following what Pop said to do, not knowing the outcome. And so I went to school. I remember from K through 12, I got the perfect attendance for it. I never was sick. I never missed a day of school. And that carried out all the way through college. And I've always been a science-interested type of guy. So in about the 6th grade, I said I wanted to be an engineer. And so I pursued that all the way through my schooling. But during my sophomore year in college, I got introduced to a Seminole Indian, and he just told me one thing. He said, never take the gringo's medicine. He said, take echinacea and golden seal, which is 2 herbs. And I said, what is echinacea and golden seal? So I went to the library, and I got this health book called Back to Eden. And I started reading that. And the light bulb went on. And my next introduction to health was Dick Gregory. He came to speak at my university.
Wow.
And all he kept talking about was drinking water. Something very basic. And, at that time, I'm still an athlete. I used to play a lot of ball. And even as an athlete, I had never drunk that much water. I didn't even consider it. And after that, I got his book. Cooking with Mother Nature, and man, I said, wow, I'm about to pursue, an avenue of health. Then I started thinking about all the people around me, friends, the in-laws, the cousins, whatever, all getting sick, having all these pills on top of their tables next to their bed and never getting well. And I said, wow, the correlation and connection here. And so I continued my engineering studies, but at the same time, at night, I'm studying herbal medicine. And then I located a school in California, taught by a natural doctor at that time. He was 95 years old, still teaching. And he allowed me into his school, and that was another 4 years. And I did the curriculum, passed it, certified, went to all kind of courses all over the country, just learning, conferences, going here, going there, talking to individuals who are already into it. And so I kind of like had it both, call them careers or professions parallel. And so that's how I've stayed engineer and then branched off into natural medicine. And that's where we are today.
Yeah. You mentioned you were an athlete. Did you play college ball, or you were?
I played my first year basketball. And, engineering, a little bit more demand on you. And can't be off on road trips for weeks and come back and you got, high level calculus looking at you, and all the other stuff that goes along with it. So it was a little tough. So I said, I need to go. I had no desire to be a pro, so I said, well, I'll just play intramurals and go back to school. So
yeah, I relate with you because I played ball in college as well, and I played all 4 years. But I remember sometimes coming back off the road and having those 8 o'clock classes. Man, it was tough. And one of the things I always remember too was I always looked at. You mentioned Dick Gregory talking about drinking water, and I always looked at water, needing water during the game as a sign of weakness. And if I could go back now and realize how many times our student trainer would come down the sideline and offers water, and I'd be like, no, I don't need no water. But now I realize that I was really kind of maybe killing my athletic performance by not even drinking enough water and keeping my body hydrated. But you live,
right?
You live, you learn.
Exactly.
One of the things I wanted to ask you is, and this is something that I've come into, and I think that you and I are judging, just looking at your background and researching for the show, we have like similar. Our thought pattern is pretty similar. But one of the things that I came into when I was in the pharma industry and I started calling on doctors was it kind of parlayed into my own personal experience. I would go into the doctor, and whatever the doctor recommended for me to do, I would do. But I'm wondering, after I got out of the industry and learned what I learned about the industry and speaking to doctors, I began to question a lot of the things that doctors were doing after my experience. Like if they asked me to get on a certain prescription or whatever, I remember a doctor had me wanting to go on a cholesterol lowering drug, and I refused to do it. But how important is it for people like me, people like you, people who are listening to this show to start questioning their doctor's judgment?
Oh yeah, you got to question it like he or she is a stranger coming up to you on the street asking you for money. They have their limitations. They're human beings. I know some people want to put them as gods, and they don't know everything. And probably the bottom line is that they know nothing about nutrition. So I have a lot of my clients who go in and maybe after speaking with me or hearing me or whatever they're doing, or just trying to go natural in their pursuit of wiping out their condition, and they go into the white coat and they say, oh, I want to take some vitamin C and I want to do this and I want to take this herb, and that doctor will look at them and say, what are you doing trying to do that? I don't believe in none of that stuff. And then they get discouraged, and my doctor said I can't do this and I can't do that, and then they end up just going back to the old way and taking drugs. So you definitely gonna question every single thing that comes out of their mouth, and really the only time you want to see a doctor is for emergency situations. Outside of that, in my opinion, they have no use.
Getting back to, you just said emergency situations, and I was going to ask you about things like surgery, and more so surgery, but really, is there a place for our medical establishment? What is it actually good for, and then when should you kind of stay away from that, if at all possible?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. Prophet Solomon said there's a time and place for everything. And I say it in my lectures that for emergency crisis medicine, i.e. gunshot wounds, car accidents, lacerations, amputations, poisoning, burnings, things that require immediate care, you losing blood, you got something stuck in you, you've swallowed some type of chemical. This is when allopathic medicine is at their best, crisis medicine. Okay, this is when we use them. Okay, so someone gets a gunshot wound, they're not going to, they're not trying to run home and put some herbs on top of the wound or something like this, being silly. You go get the care, and after they remove the bullet and seal the wound, then we go back to the herbs. Okay, so we use them for crisis, and when you have that type of mentality, your office visits are basically null. I mean, we can't be running to these offices for runny noses, high blood pressures, and eczemas and psoriasis and all these types of ailments that basically we've caused on ourselves through our diet. So if you cause the condition from your diet and you go into somebody that knows nothing about the diet, so it makes no sense.
Yeah. How important is our diet for, because it's a lot that's coming up. I had Dr. Terry Walls on the show, and she's a doctor herself and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and basically she turned her multiple sclerosis around with her diet, just a paleo diet. But how important is our diet? You've been working with clients for probably a number of years, and I'm sure you can relay your experience on how important the diet is.
Oh, yeah, diet is number one. So many factors relate to what we put in our mouth, what we put on our bodies. I consider what we put in the mouth and on the body as part of diet, because whatever you put on your skin, your liver's got to deal with it. So my key is external things that we're putting on our bodies, i.e. lotions and creams and whatever it is. If you got the product and you can't even pronounce any of the words in the product, then you shouldn't be putting it on your skin. Everything you put on your skin, you should be able to eat. Okay? Exactly. So if you use that as your criteria, you know that the things you got to put on your skin have to be things that are so-called natural. So, you know, for me, I use like a shea butters, and I use olive oil. Well, those two things I can eat. So that's how, you know, a criteria. So diet is so critical, and we look at today with all these frankenfoods and things that sit on shelves for millions of years that never spoil, and you know, sometimes I when I go to the grocery store, you know, your generic conventional store, and you know, there's an aisle always that says natural foods, and I always go, wow, that's deep. There's an aisle that says natural foods. I go, what else is around me then? You know, so
yeah.
I sit there sometimes just observing what goes in people's baskets. When I get to the line, I look at everybody's basket. It's just full of packaged foods and high fructose corn syrups, genetic this and genetic that. And I'm going, wow, you know, people think this is actually food. So one of the things I say in my lectures is every food that you eat should spoil. You should be eating foods that spoil. Okay? Like I buy, you know, just about everything I buy is organic or you know, grown right in my garden. And, you know, I got maybe 2 to 3 days to consume that, and it's, you know, it's gone. I bought some fresh cucumbers the other day. I mean, beautiful, right out of the ground. And I tell you, within 2 days, they were already wilting and going bad on me. I said, man, you know, and I'm gonna make my good salads out of it. So, you know, you want to eat foods that spoil, and
right.
that when you have that concept when you're eating, you'll know what foods to pick and put in your mouth.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I first started eating organic years and years ago, that was one of the things that I noticed. I was like, well, I couldn't go in my produce shelf in the refrigerator and expect to see a cucumber still sitting there after a week. When I did go in there and saw the organic cucumber, it didn't look like the organic cucumber that I bought out of the store, because it was, you know, already spoiling. So that was
right.
one of the immediate things that I noticed when I switched to organic food. Like, it will spoil quickly. You have to use it. You can't let it sit in the refrigerator for any amount of time. One of the things that in your book that I came across was, and I came across this a number of years ago, but I wanted you to kind of maybe talk to the audience about this, is that I had always heard that doctors... You there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Something happened. But I'd always heard that doctors died before their patients. And in your book, it kind of solidified that again for me, that most doctors, I believe it said that most doctors die at 58 while their patients have a lifespan of 68 years. Talk a little bit about that and why that might be happening.
Yes. The medical profession on whole, the average MD, now I think the number has actually went down one more. It's 56 years that they live, and a lot of that has to do, of course, you know, if people really look at some of their doctors, you know, some of them look very bad, you know, in terms of their appearance. And you looking at him and her, and you're going, wow, you know, I'm asking you about health. Look at you, you know. And, you know, you got the stress factor, working those 12-hour shifts, not sleeping, and you got the diet on top of it being bad. You got McDonald's and Burger King inside hospitals now. And then you got the other factor called, you want to say the word karma. You know, a lot of students. I speak at colleges and universities, and, you know, after I'm done, a lot of them say, "Wow, I'm not going to go to med school now." And I say, "No." You know, I say, really, I tell them to pursue emergency medicine. See, you really want to help people, then do emergency medicine. So, but on top of that, you have the other side of the profession where you have, the students saying, they pursuing this profession because of the dollars. I know it makes a lot of money, so that's why I'm pursuing it. The real reason is because you want to help humanity. But that gets lost in the shuffle when you're going through the studies and you see the outcome. And the pharmaceutical reps start coming to you and offering you lavish trips and you on selling on yachts and eating other finer things. And you say, the heck with all that, trying to help. I just want to get the money and keep going. So this karma kicks in. You realize, you may not realize, but some subconsciously, I'm giving these drugs to my clients, or should I say patients, and then they're not getting well. But oh well, this is what I'm going to do, and somehow, I think the being untrue and pursuing the economic part and not the healing part of the person, I think it breaks down the immune system, and it's that karma factor. You did, to me, when you know it's wrong and you still do it, then it's going to come back to you. And so the way it comes back to you is by destroying your health, and that's why a lot of them check out early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember just when I used to call on doctors, exactly a lot of what you said. I couldn't believe that some of them, especially in the ER, because I used to call on the ER a lot, and some of those guys were being there they would tell me they were in there from the night before, the night before the night before. So they were actually there, and I'm like, how are you not sleeping? And they were like, they were used to it, but I'm like, you can't go that long without the amount of sleep, but, they were doing it. You mentioned your book about Codex, and I'd heard about Codex a number of years ago, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. So I kind of wanted to ask you to talk about that a little bit. And maybe, I don't know if you're updated on it, but from what I understand is that they were planning to, at some point in time, trying to outlaw people like you and I being able to go into a health food store and just getting regular herbs, getting regular vitamins and minerals for ourselves. So just talk about that a little bit, and if you are updated on it, that would be great as well.
Oh, yeah. Codex Alimentaris was put in place by the international bodies. You have the FDA and the other regulatory agencies throughout the other nations, and basically trying to cut us off from our access to natural supplements and calling natural foods chemicals. Mm-hmm. So it's in effect. It's hitting in some areas at a subtle way. You may not see it right in your face, but just the fact that I travel and I try to ship things to me, and some stuff doesn't make it to me because of the customs blocking it. Asking me why am I shipping and having delivered to my home vitamin C. Why don't I have a prescription for this? Things like that. I've already had that encounter.
Wow.
There was a little brother down there, I think where you are in Florida, who they said it was trying to masquerade as an MD or a doctor. And I guess he was.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
The little brother. Yeah. But see, they didn't really tell the story that he was actually doing natural medicine.
Wow.
And in Florida, to call yourself an ND is a felony. So his problem was maybe he was a little ambitious, but when he used the word cure, that's what got him in trouble. So you got to be very careful in a natural profession on words, how you say the wording, because we don't want to use the same terminology as they do. That's why I don't call, people that I work with patients. I don't use that word. That's their word. I use clients. So
Right.
You got to be real careful. So this codex is there to the ultimate is to make sure or to block our access to natural medicine. They want to make it where you have to go to your white coat to get a prescription for vitamin A. So, I always said when that final hammer came down and that was totally implemented in the U.S., there was no reason to live in the U.S. anymore.
Yeah, so you're not actually in the country. You decided to
besides to right now I was working on a formula for malaria using natural medicine, and I'm working with a natural pharmacy, and they brought me over, and when I got here, I liked the environment, and then I started teaching, and I said, wow, I'm not really trying to get back to the States right now. So it's been a blessing.
Yeah, it seems like it is. I had Dr. Jennifer Daniels on here, and she was talking about turpentine and the uses of turpentine, and I didn't know. I thought she was here in the States, and it turns out that she's in Panama. So she lives in Panama,
right.
and she likes that. There's an underlying theme that I always seem to see, and part of that theme was in your book when we were talking about, I believe it was Harvey Wiley, Royal Rife, Max Gerson, and the underlying theme kind of goes like this, because I had found out about Royal Rife 8-9 years ago from a holistic physician that I know. She said, well, go online and look up Royal Rife. And I'm like, why is she telling me to go online and look up Royal Rife? But the theme goes like this for the audience out there. It's just like the people that seem to stand up for our right to have good food, our right to have adequate medical care. Someone like a Royal Rife who had some advancements way back when it came to cancer, and then Max Gerson as well. A lot of people are familiar with the Gerson therapy, but it seems like these people are kind of ostracized. They're like put to the side, and I believe Royal Rife ended up, if I remember correctly, he ended up insane or something like that, because they had really pushed him so far that he couldn't really take it anymore. But talk about that theme and why, and I'm sure you've come up against some of this from being in what you do and wanting to do it naturally. But there seems to be that pushback from the medical establishment against people who want to do things naturally versus the conventional way of doing things.
Oh, yeah. There's an onslaught attack on natural physicians. I mean, we've had, in the last 2 years, approximately 15 natural healers, so-called mysteriously died. Maybe about 3 or 4 of them was in the state of Florida. And as you mentioned, the pioneers from the day, Royal Rifes, Gersons, and Harry Hoxie, all these guys went up against a medical establishment, and either their careers, their clinics were shut down, destroyed. As you mentioned, Royal Rife at the end of his life, under such mental stress, just had a complete breakdown. And I mean, I can see that. You know, you hear, you want to help people. You're already doing things with people, seeing them turn around. I mean, Max Gerson has documented his cancer cure rate was off the charts.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have this gift and you want to share this to humanity, and you got agencies telling you no, we don't want you. I mean, I have my own personal. I got so many testimonials on things. I have my own personal ones that I went up against. In 1993, I bought my first home in the state of Washington, and it was an old Victorian home.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the natural wood. That's why I bought it. The inside was beautiful, but someone had actually painted over the wood in the bathroom. And so I'm crazy, young, don't know nothing, I guess. And I went in there and started taking this paint off with a heat gun.
Mm-hmm.
No mask on, no ventilation, just crazy. Come to find out, the paint had lead in it. It was, from an older home, got lead paint back. Lead was outlawed back in the 70s. So I'm in there breathing lead vapors. All of a sudden, maybe a month into my project, I was growing a little beard at the time, and I started getting patches and holes in my beard, hair missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, man, what is going on? Like alopecia. So I said, my goodness, what is this? And went and got my blood tested, and I had lead poisoning.
Wow.
So I called my friend in Cleveland, Ohio, Dr. Hakeem Lewis, naturopath. And he said, man, you got to do a detox of your liver for 1 year. And I did it. I did a certain formula. It's called Ultra Clear. You can buy it now online. Before you couldn't. And I used that for 1 year. And after my year was up, my hair all came back, and the problem was gone. I ain't had a problem since. So I called the Alopecia Society, like the Red Cross, what's it called, Heart Association, and all these fake groups that actually trying to think that they're trying to solve something. So I called the Alopecia Society. They had a big conference coming up, and I said, hey, I like to come and do my presentation to the audience on what I did. Maybe it can help somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They said, you better not come nowhere near our conference talking about you cured your alopecia. And I said, what is this? and after that, I started looking at all those foundations. This whole, what's this fake thing they do every October, this pink ribbons,
mm-hmm.
and Susan Kamen and all that madness. Ain't nobody trying to find no cure for nothing. And last year they doing ice buckets and all this stuff for ALS. And, it's all game. And so these same people that promote these agencies are against all forms of natural medicine. And they make sure that the press is always negative towards natural. You'll never see anything positive about natural medicine on the news, on TV. Because now all advertisement is done by pharmaceuticals. And they're not about to give up no dollars dropping that stuff to say something positive. And so you will always come up against opposition from the FDA, the AMA, and all the other regulatory agencies that want to make sure that the current medical paradigm is a monopoly and there's no competition.
Yeah, I've heard it said more than one time that they don't cure anything. They want more customers. The pharmaceutical industry wants more customers. You and I both play basketball. I understand you're a big basketball fan from doing some research online. I'm obviously a big basketball fan. I played and still like to watch. I watched the Heat play last night, matter of fact. And in your book, as I was preparing for the show, I saw Alonzo Mourning, who used to play for the Heat. And I never really made this connection when Alonzo Mourning was going through that. He had that kidney issue, and then Sean Elliott had a kidney issue as well. But I remember back when I was in pharma that I was in competition with Celebrex and Vioxx. Those were my competitors. And I had to know quite a bit about those because I sold a pain analgesic drug. And we knew about things before the actual public knew about them. So I knew that Vioxx and Celebrex were already having issues, and I would go into my doctor and say, look, these drugs are already having issues. And reading your book, I was like, wow, I never really dug deep enough to figure out that maybe Alonzo Mourning and Sean Elliott were taking these drugs and had some effect on their kidneys, because both of them had this, they termed it a rare genetic kidney ailment, but it seems like the common denominator was they were both taking Vioxx, because when even when I was in college, I remember having my little aches and pains, and these guys are playing pro basketball, and the amount of games, I think they play 82 games, so I don't know, I just never made that connection, Dr. Whitaker, that these guys were taking those drugs, and this might have been the reason why they had these kidney ailments.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially any of those, they call them anti-inflammatories, devastating. I mean, the FDA just now started putting the black warning sign on Tylenol and ibuprofen and all that stuff. Says it clearly on the box, causes liver and kidney failure. So you notice that all these businesses now popping up all through the black communities called the Negro machine, and that's the kidney dialysis. Because 95% of the people on them is us, and unfortunately, we popping those pills with just the slightest any little ache, and not realizing that at the same time we're destroying our liver and kidneys. So yes, you don't even hear too much about Sean Elliott anywhere in sports, coaching, commentating. I haven't heard his name in a long time. When it's like that, then I know something with his health is suffering. Alonzo, I don't really know. I haven't heard too much from him, so I don't know how he's doing. But these drugs, especially in sports, because they want you back on the field so fast. God knows what they're shooting them with, and the liver and kidneys are the main organs being attacked. So yeah, the Vioxx killed over 50,000 people before they pulled it from the shelf. And Merck, the name behind it, they the ones pushing the HPV vaccine. So, how are we going to trust a company that knew knew that their drug killed people, made them money, and then pulled it from the shelf? We're going to trust them to stick our daughters with a vaccine? We out of our minds. Yeah, I remember all of that stuff, and then I remember, how they pulled it off the market, and the amount of money that they had to pay out in lawsuits for the Celebrex and the Vioxx, and I believe they were trying to launch something else outside of that, which was in that same family, but I don't know if they ever came out with it. Are there any new diseases? Because it seems like there's something, what's the new thing that just came out? Zika, or I can't remember the thing, Zika or Zika. I mean, there's so many things that we didn't have AIDS years and years ago, but it seems like there's so many things now that are new. But I mean, from knowing what I know and doing the research and studying, it doesn't seem like there are any new diseases. But we seem to get this cloak pulled over our head that there are new diseases. And I wanted to ask you, what is the basis for disease? And again, are there any new diseases out there? No, basically what they're doing is renaming old ones and giving it a fancy title so they can make a new drug. Examples like you don't hear the word rheumatism anymore. That's basically non-existent. Oh, because why? They changed the name now to fibromyalgia. So, they changed the names of so-called diseases and give it a nice, fresh-sounding name, give it some airplay, and the people, freak out over it. Run to the doctor, get a drug for it, and the cycle continues. So, the same way that we got sick in the past, the same way we get sick now, you may want to add maybe another factor to it, which is maybe, i.e., the environment, because of the spraying that they're doing. Of course, the chemtrails. Funny thing about that, I was mentioning chemtrails maybe 15 years ago, and someone emailed me and said, "Wow, with our brother Prince passing last week, the first thing was they got him because he spoke about chemtrails." I said, "Why? I guess I'm next because I've been speaking about them for the last 15 years." But we know that's not the case. It has to do with first the legal rights to his catalog, and that sort. People don't want to talk about that on the show, but just look at the history of artists who've been taken out mysteriously, and you'll see majority of them had to do with rights and distribution to their work. So there are no new diseases. Of course, every winter they scare everybody about a flu that's coming, a brand new flu. You have the H1N1, which was maybe, about 8-9 years ago. I tell everybody H1N1 stood for one Negro, one Hispanic. And then they came out with the birds having flus and all this kind of madness that they come out with. Now today they got the Zika, Z-I-K-A, which supposedly causing babies to be born with little heads. And they know good and well that came from vaccinations given to the mother during pregnancy. So they're trying to blame it on a mosquito. So, I mean, this is the madness that they I don't know. Maybe they do think people are really that dumb. But this is the type of scenarios that they want to give us. Like, with AIDS. They said that a green monkey bit somebody on the butt, and then, that's where it came from, Africa, of course. And then, spread throughout the whole world. So, we fight propaganda every day. And let people know that there are no new diseases. They're just renamed diseases to make new products. That's basically it.
You talk about cholesterol and statins, and a lot of things are coming to light as far as cholesterol, and we're knowing that cholesterol is not the enemy that it was once claimed to be. But then you go on and you talk a little bit about homocysteine, which a lot of people don't know about. I actually was pretty uneducated on it until I had another guest on the show who kind of talked to me a little bit about homocysteine, and I read his book. But talk about homocysteine and how that is actually a better indicator or an indicator of a heart attack or a heart condition versus your cholesterol level.
Yes, cholesterol is your friend. It's your buddy. You need to get as much as you can get. The higher your cholesterol, the longer you live. Homocysteine, which basically indicates there's high levels of inflammation in the body, and particularly in the bloodstream, affecting the heart. It's elevated by lack of B6, B12, and folic acid. It's a great indicator of arterial breakdown in the body. You can be tested for it, and you want that number less than, they give you a range, I think it's between 8 to 15, which is actually, they call it normal. normal for the medical profession means that you're not good. So never go by their normals. Okay, you want to be less than their normal. So you want your range to be less than 6 for your homocysteine rating. And that's one of the greatest indicators for heart disease is your homocysteine levels, because it's actually breaking down, or actually telling you that there's a lot of inflammation in the body, which inflammation is one of the main indicators that we got some serious issues. And since heart disease, they call it, they want to say it's silent, whatever. But there's ways through natural medicine I can see it externally happening. I look at the creases of people's earlobes, and if I see that crease, I know we got. I remember one time I had an MD who hated natural medicine. She brought her husband in to see me, and before he sat down at my desk, I said, "You have congestive heart failure," just by looking at his earlobes. She said, "How did you know that?" And this is some of the training that we go through. We pick up on these things. So for people out there who may have, if you go get your blood tested and you have elevated homocysteine, like I said, you want to get B6, B12, and folic acid. And that will reduce it immediately.
Yeah, a lot of people are still, thinking that it's cholesterol and electing to go on statins. But, I mean, that homocysteine is very, very important. A couple of years ago, I was always tired. And I was lucky enough to bump into some people in natural medicine, and they kind of got me corrected. But a lot of people don't take fatigue seriously, and what I realized was that fatigue was my body's first signal to tell me, that something was wrong. Not just like if I play basketball, I get tired. If you play ball, you play a couple of good games, you're going to be tired. But that constant waking up in the morning feeling tired, middle of the day I used to feel tired. But talk about the stage of the disease and why we should actually take fatigue, especially being tired all the time like I was, as something very, very serious. Oh, yeah.
The first 2 organs that I'm going to look at is the thyroid and the adrenals. And our thyroids are being, totally just attacked now. With fluoride everywhere, attacking the thyroid gland. People, unfortunately, are eating soy products, which attack the thyroid gland. And sitting in front of the computer all day, hitting radiation coming off the screen, hitting the thyroid. So, affecting metabolism. Then you got the adrenal glands being maxed out by stress, of course, improper diet, lack of sleep. And those 2 organs, usually the adrenals go first, and the adrenals and thyroid area, they're all connected. But when the adrenals go down, the thyroid comes right behind it, and you get that sluggish, that midday drop, which a lot of times too comes from what we ate in the morning. I'm not a fan of cereals and grains in the morning, which means pancakes and oatmeal and all that kind of stuff. That's just nothing but sugar. And what that does is take you up high early morning, but by midday you're crashing. So I like to tell everybody to start their day off with protein. And that keeps you, to me, balanced throughout the day. And you don't have those highs with drops. Because when you get tired, you're missing either one or the other, protein or fats. And I think fats probably even have a better metabolism for us, because that's converted into energy right away. So, and of course now with the white coat scaring everybody about eating fat, people are avoiding it, and fat. Your brain is about 60% fat. So your heart loves fat. I'm talking about the good ones too, the real ones: butter, coconut oil, olive oil, and we've been taught now to eat plastic, which is margarine, canola, basically all the ones you see sitting on a shelf with no color to them, no taste, corn oils, and that kind of madness. And so, therefore, we don't have good fats. Then, of course, we're trying to eat lean. If we eat meat, we eat lean meats, whatever that is. And so, the whole paradigm of eating, we've been damaged by regulatory agencies pushing pyramid foods, and you had the movement back in the early 50s by a guy named Ansel Keys. Came out and said cholesterol and butter and all that was the cause of heart disease. The vegetable oil companies came in and said use margarine as your substitute, and heart disease went up 400%. So we got to get back to the real foods, real fats, and then for supplementing for our adrenals and thyroid, to eliminate the sluggishness. For the adrenals, they need vitamin B5. One of the good sources I use is royal jelly mixed with some bee pollen, and it's outstanding. And then for the thyroid needs iodine, so we want to use either black walnut or there's a product called Iridol, IODORAL, Iridol, which is potassium iodide formula used in the early 1900s to eliminate mostly any thyroid condition. They're trying to take that off the market now. So yeah, someone who's just overly tired, bent over, can't go another foot. They got some serious issues. The first place you're gonna look at is diet.
Right. Yeah, my diet was very poor back then. I was always the first person in Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell, probably my most favorite places. But I've managed to turn it around. Probably thanks to my mom, because if it wasn't for her, man, I don't know where I would be when it came to my health. She's the person that, after her passing, made me turn everything around. My final question, I know I don't usually keep my guests over an hour, but your book talked about the link between diet and violent crime, and I remember coming across a lecture from Dr. Russell Blaylock about 3 or 4 years ago, in which he talked about this particular link. But I don't want to steal your thunder. I wanted you to kind of talk about that, the link between a person's diet and the violent crime.
Yes. Like we said earlier, the diet is the foundation. And so what it was, they did a lot of studies. They found out that a lot of the hardcore criminals, serious cats, serious murders, and they actually interviewed them and said, what did you used to eat? And them cats were saying, I basically lived off honey buns and Dunkin' Donuts and soda pops and chemicals from the street drugs, and just horrible diets. And so the body's sitting there screaming, just internally saying, please just give me some type of nutrient. And the hormonal thing is all messed up. And it has effect on the thinking. Impure blood leads to impure thoughts. So, unfortunately, maybe the person who maybe did a crime because of the deficiencies, his nervous system wasn't where it was one that could be calm and cool about the situation, and it just erupted and maybe caused the problem. So the crime and diet is deep. I mean, you can say diet and bad behavior, diet and emotional outbursts, all are in a same web. And so, and then we have situations where they're putting excess chemicals into our food that causes these negative outcomes, like MSG in most of your fast foods, monosodium glutamate, which throws off all the neurons in the body and the brain, short circuits things, causes all kind of problems. The pharmaceutical drugs of antidepressants, which I'm against psychiatry at the highest level, but because all those drugs do is lower serotonin levels, which then causes manic depression, suicide. I think there was a shooting yesterday in Texas, down near Houston. Somebody went into one of the locations there, just shooting up people. First thing I hear for these types of crimes is what antidepressant was this person on. Yep. That's usually the case. Anything I see that's bizarre type of killing, mass shootings at schools and at co-workers and things, I automatically, first thing I say is, what antidepressant was that person on? And I'm telling you, 9 out of 10, that's been the case. So crime and refined diet is critical. I mean, we see it in our own populated areas where we are. Other types of ethnic races are. We see high violent rates, and from the stress of the economy, to poor diet leads to an ignited powder keg that has devastating outcomes.
Yeah, I remember from that report or that lecture that I found online that I looked at, they were linking like a lot of the criminals to they were hypoglycemic. A lot of them, their blood sugar would drop, and then they would have these violent episodes. So I don't think people know the effect that food has on them. And then there was something a few years ago too. I know I came across something where they took probably the worst of the worst school kids, and they changed their diet to an organic diet. I want to say it was somewhere out in Wisconsin, or somewhere like that.
It was Watertown, Wisconsin.
Yep, I knew it was Wisconsin, I think. But they took them and just changed their diet, and these kids, like, it was a complete 360 turnaround with their behavior. It's just it's crazy how we're not really making this connection to food, and how food is affecting people's mood and affecting society with the antidepressants and the things that we're eating. It's phenomenal to me that we haven't really made that connection. Not everyone. A lot of people are now, but not everyone has made it yet.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, where did you play ball at?
I played at University of South Carolina. So
really? With Dozier?
No, I came up in 90.
DJ McKee?
No, I played 89, 93.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. But, so that's all the questions I had for you. I didn't, want to keep you over an hour. And, I know that the book there's a lot of stuff in the book for the audience out there that is reading it, a lot of stuff about the medical establishment, some things that you may not know. And the book does a good deal of connecting the dots. If you're not informed of, the FDA, things that happened years and years ago and how they're actually playing out now, the book is really good about that. And I believe that they can purchase the book on Amazon. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep.
On
Amazon or my website.
Yep. And the book is called MediSin. And your website, give us your website, Dr. Whitaker.
Medisins.net, medisins.net.
Okay. And do you work with clients now over like phone consultation or anything like that? Yeah,
we do phone consultations, follow up. We do email and anything else that we need help with. We're always in contact. so it's not a problem.
Yeah, and if they want to get in contact with you through, is that information on
email.
your website? Okay.
Yeah, email's right there. Dr. Whitaker at hotmail.com. dr.whitaker@hotmail.com.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on, man. I know you're out of the country, and I know this is early for you. People don't know that, but you were adamant about getting on live, and I really appreciate it. So thank you for being on.
No problem. No problem.
All right.
I come to Jacksonville. We got to hook up.
Jackson, I'm near Miami. I'm probably like 10 minutes from Miami. I live in Davie, so if I jump on the turnpike, I'm in Miami 10 minutes, which I was down there last night visiting a friend. But if you come to West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, just let me know. Give me a shout, and I'll be glad to hook up with you.
Okay. No problem.
All right. Take care, Dr. Whitaker, and thanks so much, man.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right, so good. He called in from out of the country, guys. Hope you enjoyed the show. A lot of stuff is in the book. If you're really looking at making a connection, how these things kind of connect the dots, and from where it started to where we are now, it just makes perfect sense. And a lot of great health information is in there as well. Monday is a show that I had to reschedule. We were supposed to do the show, I think, back in February, but wires got crossed, and now we're going to do it Monday, and it's actually going to be an early show. I'm going to do the show at 10 o'clock in the morning, but it'll be available for you to listen to at any time that you would like to listen to it. And the doctor that's going to be on is Dr. J.D. Wallach, and his book is called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. A lot of good stuff. Gentleman started off as a veterinarian and got into being a naturopathic doctor. So there's a lot of stuff from his background, from being a veterinarian to going in and actually working with humans, I would say, that is going to be very, very interesting. So I'm looking forward to that interview Monday morning. And normally I said, see you same fat time, same fat channel, but it'll be a different time Monday, and we will be talking with Dr. J.D. Wallach at actually 10 o'clock in the morning, and that show will be available for you to listen to on iTunes, or you can go to Blog Talk Radio to listen to it, and I'm also available on Stitcher. And would also, if you are downloading things through iTunes, please leave a review for the show. That helps me get the show out to more people when you rate the show, or leave a review. iTunes looks at it as something that people are actually looking for. And again, I want to get this information out to as many people as possible, get as many people as possible healthy. And then on next Monday, I said J.D. Walk, and then Wednesday, I'll be talking to Dr. Pam Riley. We'll be actually talking about essential oils. There's some things about essential oils that I want to get out there, because I know a lot of people are still kind of under radar when it comes to essential oils, and these things are great for helping with your ailments. So again, thank you for listening. Peace and love. Good night, y'all.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera.
I'm switching. That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Skydiving. This is amazing.
Yeah, but you know what else is amazing? An iPhone 6S for just $49 at Metro.
Really?
Imagine streaming all the way down with that amazing camera.
I'm switching. That's smart.
You know what else is smart? Parachutes.
Switch to Metro and get an amazing iPhone 6S for only $49. Metro by T-Mobile. Phone offer requires port-in of number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. See store for details and terms and conditions.